It's Harmon Dash with Dr. Stuart Phillips here for Make It Fair. Following Monday night's stunning victory for Democrat Doug Jones in the Alabama special election to fill the U.S. Senate seat vacated by Jeff Sessions, Doug Jones, the first Democrat to be sent to the U.S. Senate by Alabama in 26 years. Lots of special circumstances surrounding how he was able to eke out this victory over Roy Moore, but there is one specific circumstance that tends to lead us to business as usual with politics these days, wouldn't you say?
Yes. What we would say is that Jones outspent more than 2-1, and he won. And not over 90% of the time, the congressional candidate that has the most money wins.
And we can actually illustrate how much more the Jones campaign spent $11.8 million, while Moore's campaign only $5 million.
That's correct. Now, we don't want to get deeply into the partisanship of this election. Make It Fair is an organization dedicated to good government and not to partisanship. Obviously, a great number of people thought that Jones was a better candidate than Moore, and that included Republicans. The Republican senator from the state of Alabama refused to vote for him.
Richard Shelby.
The Republican senator from the state of Arizona gave money to the Democrat.
To Jeff Flake.
The National Republican Party repudiated
Roy
Moore, and then came back in. So in the long run, perhaps the better man won. And we don't want people to lose track of that, but what we want to explain is he didn't win because he was moral. He won because he had the most money. And we are dedicated to the idea that it is a better way to pick a candidate by having equal representation, equal ability to vote, everybody able to express themselves, and let the populace pick the candidate that is the best qualified.
So what we're suggesting is even the playing field. Let's not have it be about who can gain the most campaign funds to buy the biggest megaphone to drown out dissenting voices. Let's have it be about ideas and about integrity. It's just not about that in this Citizens United world where money rules. And let's look at the details here. Doug Jones had to be a pretty outstanding candidate to have done this. He successfully prosecuted the KKK decades ago. He is scandal-free. There was no dirt to dig up on him. And even with those factors in play and all these negatives on Roy Moore, not just the accusations of sexual harassment and doing things with young girls, but also his record in Alabama politics, not great either. All of that was in play, and still, Doug Jones probably wouldn't have won if he didn't have the excess amount of money that he was able to spend on this campaign.
Right, he had money for the ground game, for calling people and getting them out to vote. And that's very important in our society. It seems to me it would be better if everyone had the ability to vote and everyone wanted to vote. And it seems to me that we could do that for a lot less money and in a lot fairer way by having universal ballot access, giving everybody a voter ID card, registering everybody when they're 18 years old, making sure that we have a unified national voters list. There are a whole bunch of things that we could do that the politicians don't want to do because then they can't manipulate the system.
Well, if this is democracy, we should be making access to voting easier for everyone, not putting up obstacles. And boy, did they try to put up obstacles in Alabama, in black communities, poor communities. Some of these stringent ID laws, some of the people were unable to get these IDs, and they were trying to keep people from getting to the polls, but it wasn't enough of an effort to stop them. There was enough enthusiasm. Again, the Jones ground game We're talking about like 98% of black women voted for Jones in this election, compared to the 67% of white women who voted for Moore. But you did see a lot of people who might have voted for the Republican, but were just so disgusted by Moore's candidacy that they stayed home.
Turnout was obviously very important. The turnout for this election was less than half of what it is for a typical presidential election, especially the last presidential election. Our president is quite popular in Alabama.
Won by 28 points in the 2016 election.
And even that wasn't enough to carry Moore across the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make a system that's easy to access, that's boring, that doesn't require national effort to get an accused child molester who's been fired from the Supreme Court 2 times, shouldn't get half the vote. But he can, because he can manipulate the system.
Well, you know, from where we sit, a functioning democracy only functions when everybody's voice is equal. Your voice, your vote should count as much as someone who has a lot of money, their vote, because that is the definition of democracy. It shouldn't matter what you have in your bank account, and our current system is not allowing for that.
Yeah, let's think about that. Half the people in the United States don't make enough money to give money to
politicians.
a politician. They live from paycheck to paycheck. So those people are disenfranchised in our system. Then of the rest of us, the people from the upper half to the 90th percentile, they have enough money to give $50, $100, and they do, and they do when they're upset, and that's good. It certainly doesn't hurt. The 10% of the people that make a lot of money can give $100,000 to a candidate, and his voice gets heard regularly. Now, if it were true that rich people always acted in poor people's best interest and in the best interest of the whole society, then we would have a perfect government. But I think most of you would understand that it isn't true. Most people act in their own self-interest. So when they are able to skew the process, they do. Yeah, let's talk about...
For example, I mean, the debate on net neutrality is out there right now. It looks like the person that's been put in charge of the FCC to make this decision wants to rid us of net neutrality, even though 83% of Americans are in favor of a free and open internet. So what's the motivation? Would it be money?
The present chairman of the FCC, the Federal Communications Committee, worked for Verizon as an attorney.
And Verizon stands to greatly benefit from the stripping of net neutrality, right?
If it is changed the way they want, Verizon will be able to charge you more money for streaming. And of course, you don't want that to happen, but Verizon does. So Verizon paid off Trump to put this guy in the FCC. He's going to stay there for 6 months or a year. Then he's going to go back to Verizon and get his extra money. But he was paid off before, and he's paid off now. Whether he's getting money in this year probably doesn't matter. But if we look carefully, I'm sure we could find that he was getting some perks. What would be better? What would be better is for the FCC to take into account what's best for the country and not what's best for Verizon. Let's talk about the tax bill that the Republicans are doing now. 80% of the people in the United States think it's a bad idea. The 20% who do think it's a good idea are the people that are giving the Republicans the money. They are refreshingly honest about this. They have said if they can't deliver this tax bill, they won't continue to get the money.
Well, and let's talk about that specifically in terms of Roy Moore, because you know, the RNC, the Republican establishment, tried to distance themselves, and when they came down to it, they realized we need that vote. We may not like Roy Moore, but we need that vote so we can get our tax cuts put into place. And so it all became about continuing this cycle of graft, or in other words, bribery, where the rich and big business can buy our democracy and keep us out of it.
And that is what we want to change. We want to change the way we select our elected representatives so that we have publicly funded elections, that we have universal suffrage, that we don't allow corporations to be considered people, and that we don't allow unlimited political contributions so that the people with the most money have the biggest megaphone. If we put that in, we'll have a quiet, boring system where people will pick the most qualified elected representatives. Remember, we have an elected representative democracy. The people don't make the laws on a huge majority of the time. You elect people who are good at it, and they make the laws. You need to elect the most qualified individual, not the one who can get the most graft.
So, do you agree with our thought that money has become the defining factor in the outcome of our elections? We welcome your comments on our website, makeitfair.us. And if you do agree that when money wins, we all lose in a democracy, well, you can join us in the fight to make it fair. Become a member. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Facebook and Twitter. For Dr. Stuart Phillips, my name is Harmon Dash. Thank you for watching Make It Fair.
And remember, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will be notified of each one of our new segments.